co-founder of SGAG. So I want to take you back to the 6th of February 2012. It was a very special day in the history of Singapore because something very significant happened in our country. And if you think back with me, try to remember, I know it's a couple of years ago, but if you remember that very day, something very, very important happened to all of us, and that was that McDonald's ran out of curry sauce for the very first time. So if you walked into McDonald's that day, you wouldn't be able to eat your nuggets, your French fries, or your ice cream with curry sauce. And we Singaporeans eat curry sauce with everything we can find at McDonald's, right? So we were so frustrated, and we noticed that there was this whole storm brewing on social media. So what we seated at, my best friend and I were seated at the back of the classroom, and we created this meme. This meme called McDonald's, why you know curry sauce. And we wanted to share this with our friends, but we realized that there was no platform in Singapore that would allow us to share this meme, a local meme where no foreigners would understand, and it was highly sort of trending, and it was very, very much local. So we created a page that very day called SGAG, and we shared it, and within the next couple of hours, a few hundred people came to like the post, and we were completely hooked on this whole addiction of content creation. And we were very, very fortunate because the very next thing that happened was that the government decided to announce in 2013 that there will be 6.9 million people living in Singapore by 2030. And that created another social media storm where people started complaining, people formed camps, oh, don't vote for the right party at the next election. But we couldn't be bothered, and we were not that interested in politics anyways. But what we were more interested in was visualizing how Singapore might look with 6.9 million people. So we started creating these pieces where maybe the trains would have to be triple-decker, right? To support 6.9 million people. Triple-decker trains, maybe people would have to sort of hang on to the back of the MRTs. Maybe people would have to cling on to the back of buses. And you know, we had such a good time doing this. And this really put us out there into the media. And so, if you remember, if you think back with me, sometime in June 2013, again, we experienced one of the best gifts from our neighbors, right? So we had the haze. And the haze was an interesting period because everyone was stuck and there was no more school, there was no work, everyone was back home online, and everyone was forced to consume our content. So we started thinking about maybe the Singapore Flyer is a secret government project. We switch on and we blow the haze back to them. And if you're a tourist and you come to Singapore, you would be sort of seeing the same thing everywhere you go. They would all kind of look the same. And even Sun Wukong was not spared. On his journey to the west, Sun Wukong would have lost his shifu if he traveled through the MBS region, and he would lose his shifu in Singapore. So that was a strange period for us, but very, very fun for our guys at SGAG as we started creating some of this breakthrough content in 2013. And moving on to 2014. 2014 was the year when we had the World Cup, remember? And if you remember this gentleman called Andy. Andy was one of our favorite characters because he was part of an anti-gambling campaign. Andy's father bet all his money on Germany, and Germany wins the World Cup. So what does that mean? Andy's father makes a lot of money. And this became the butt of jokes all around the world. Jimmy Fallon was talking about it on his late night show, if you remember. And what was even more brilliant in 2014 was that a condo used Andy as the model. And so Andy had a beautiful ending to this story. His father bets all the money on Germany, wins the World Cup, wins a lot of money, and buys a condo. Happily ever after. So we move on to 2015 where, you know, by this time we were creating memes for the last 2 years part-time. And we started 2015 by deciding that we want to do this for the rest of our lives, or at least for as long as we can. So we dropped everything that we had and we went full-time. And the first thing that happened in 2015 was our founding father passed away. And this was an awkward moment for us because we felt that it would be completely insensitive to be joking during this period of mourning. So we declared a 2-week blackout where we would not launch a single post, not a single joke, and we were completely stuck. What would we do for 2 weeks? What would we talk about? And what would our audience feel? So what was amazing is that in these 2 weeks, as people were sort of commemorating his life and what he had done for the country, we started to receive a lot of stories from our inbox. Stories of kindness, acts of sort of kindness as people were queuing up, remember? As you were queuing up, the elderly, the sick, the fragile, the frail, they were all given free water, free seats, free food as they queued up, and we started to share these stories on our platform through memes. And for the first time, we were not talking about anything funny. We were talking about acts of kindness, and our performance was at an all-time high. Some of the best performing content were non-funny pieces. And that was when we realized we had become more than just jokes, more than just laughter. Our mission back then was to bring your daily dose of Singaporean humor, but in 2015 we realized that we had evolved to become something so much more than that. So we hosted the SEA Games in June that year, and if you remember, there were 2 Filipino athletes that came for the diving event. They went on the platform and then they jumped off and landed flat on their backs, splashed into the water, came out, gave each other a high five and walked off like a boss. And what was even more amazing, when we launched that video, it went viral, is that the 2 athletes came to our page and they left a comment, and that actually started an international, sort of intonation debate. You know, all the Filipinos came in through SGAG and started commenting and debating with our Singaporean fans, and that led to sort of a strange internation debate on our page, which was very, very fun for us. And at the end of the year, we ended the year on a somber note again. When the students got into the accident in KK, we again wanted to sort of stop the jokes, and because it was a really sort of tragedy. And we wanted to represent Singaporeans on the other side, to thank the mountain guides who were going all the way up the mountain to carry some of our injured students back down on their backs. And on behalf of Singaporeans, we wanted to say thank you. So, zooming straight into 2016, 2016 saw the evolution of the greatest Pokemon ever in our country. His name is Joseph Square. He evolved from a Magikarp into a full-blown Gyarados. Right? And we launched this meme 5 minutes after he won the gold medal. And this was one of our top pieces for 2016. But it was also the year of Pokemon, right? Everyone was playing Pokemon, and Pokemon represented everything. So this piece was very significant for us because we launched this, I think at 9 p.m. that evening. We woke up the next morning, we looked at the analytics. This piece was seen by 60 million people all around the world. So 2016 was all about Pokemon. And straight into 2017, 2017 was the year that we started doing a lot of videos. If you come to SGAG, if you follow us now, you'll see a lot of videos. And we started investing a lot of our time entertaining you guys on short form videos that you can watch on your mobile, in the toilet, on the train, anywhere. And more importantly, we started to take the whole idea of videos across the border because we were reaching about 5 million Malaysians, and a lot of them started writing into us to say, hey, why don't you laugh at us? Why don't you make fun of me? Can you please make fun of me? So we were like, fine, we'll make fun of you. So we went across the border and we set up a team there and we started making fun of them through videos as well. And you might have seen some of this when when Malaysians come to Singapore, what do they do? You know, when you lose your mom's Tupperware, what happens to that? And we started creating a lot of content for the Malaysian audience in Bahasa. So, we started this at the back of a classroom in 2012, and we went full-time in 2015. Today we do over 10 million people every single week across our 2 platforms, run by a team of 30 people. And we distribute content in Singapore through these platforms across 7 channels. We launch about 5 to 10 pieces every single day, 365 days a year. In Malaysia, we launch content through these 4 platforms about 3 to 5 times every single day. And our mission is really to make your day a better one. When you come in at the end of a long school day, come into any of our platforms, just watch it. And we create all of this content to entertain and to engage you guys. And so that's been a mission that we've embarked on, and it's been an amazing journey. And I'd like to share with you 3 lessons that I've learned in my journey building this company. So the first thing that I want to share with you is the importance of play. So play is very important to me, and I love to play. Ever since I was a kid, I spent a lot of time outdoors playing sports. I spent a lot of time indoors playing computer games or console games, and I love to play. Even as I went into young adulthood, I found myself still playing. Even though when I had a kid, I was still playing. And I realized that I would never stop playing. Play is such a big part of me. And so when I built this company, one of the key things I thought about was Barcelona, the football club. Barcelona is a group of 11 men coming together to play football or soccer. And because they play so well together, they form this synergy as a team, and the way that they play is just beautiful. It's absolutely captivating. And because the way that they play is so captivating, millions of people around the world love watching them play. And I thought about that for a moment, and I said, look, we gotta take this whole element of playing into our company culture and do that every single day. So if you come to my company right now, you would see any group of people, different groups of people, playing football, playing air hockey, playing card games, playing ping pong, playing everything they can get their hands on, and we play every single day. And we take time every 6 months to go overseas to do all sorts of stuff together. So this was us doing sort of jungle ATV trails. This was us doing paintball. And I truly, truly believe that when a group of people come together to play intentionally and play frequently, that's when the magical effect of building bonds, building synergy, and then soon enough it brings millions of people together. And that's why I believe our content is successful, because we play a lot together. The second thing I want to talk about is that grades does not equal to talent. So I was not the best student in school, and I did work very hard though. And I realized at some point in university, early on in university, that I was never going to be the top student, or maybe top 3 even. And all the extra hours that I spent trying to ingest maybe 3 more PowerPoint slides or 5 more notes, it was not going to add up to any additional value. Instead, I started thinking about how I could spend my time more meaningfully to learn. And learning to me comes in the form of experiences. One of my first jobs in university was to become a real estate salesperson at the age of 21. And that has become one of the most pivotal things and the hardest lessons and the best lessons I've learned, is because I got out of the classroom and I decided to learn instead of just focusing on my grades. And I took that again to my company when I hire people, when I had to hire my first 3 people, 5 people, 10 people. Now we're at 30 strong. Every single individual in my team, I did not hire them because they had good grades or a fantastic CV. In fact, I think more than half of them, I've never even seen their CV. Instead, I asked them, tell me a story, tell me something interesting about you. Tell me a skill that you have that nobody has. Tell me a story. And some of the best people I work with did not complete PSLE. They dropped out of primary school, never made it through primary school. Some of them never finished secondary school. Some of them, one of my best content creators, used to work as a TV salesman in a small town in Malaysia, teaching people how to use the different functions of TV. And today he creates content that's constantly seen by millions, all because I looked at him not at his grades, but by what he could bring and what stories he could tell and how he told them through his skills. And I think that that's something really, really important for young people to really consider. Not just looking at your grades, but really spending time learning things that you want to learn. And the third thing I'd like to share with you is this term called achieving failure. So this term is coined by a man named Eric Ries. Eric Ries is the author of a book called The Lean Startup. And in Asia especially, we hate the word failure, right? Failure is something we try to avoid at all costs, at all stages of our lives. But at some point I realized that failure is not a matter of whether it will happen, but it's a matter of when it will happen, because it will happen. And I failed tremendously in different points in my life. I failed exams, I have failed relationships, I have failed businesses. And one of the biggest failures of my life was when I was 26 years old. I was fresh out of university. I went out into the venture finance market, and I had an idea. I raised some venture money, and I had this business plan that I wanted to execute. I was extremely optimistic. I went out there, pushed for about a year, and it completely fell face flat. And I was completely smashed. I was devastated. I was just hit so hard. But I look back today, and I realized that 12 months that I spent pursuing my first business gave me some of the best lessons I would never learn in the classroom or in the textbook. It gave me lessons and motivates me every single day till today, of things that I shouldn't do, of things that I should do more. And I think there's nowhere else better to learn these lessons than by achieving failure. So I want to reference this quote from one of the greatest basketball players of all time, Michael Jordan. You call him the GOAT. So Jordan missed over 9,000 shots in his career. He's lost 300 games. 26 times he's been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. He failed over and over and over again in his life, and that is why he succeeds. So with that, I want to encourage all of you Spend time to play. Don't be afraid to play. Focus on learning. Get out of the classroom. Learn things that will leave long-term value in your life. And don't be afraid to fail. Achieve failure. Thank you very much.